This is
Chat the Great.
this is what I wanted to ask you. Also, and it's linked with like I wanted to ask about why do you think like number one in the world and now is hip hop music, is rap music, and I'm asking that because I just noticed like rock and roll people, like guys from bands, they kind of like, and maybe this is a good thing, I don't know, I'm just asking, like they lost their edge. And also if you see stuff, you see like people in bands and rock and roll bands, they're always polite, they're nice, and meanwhile the guys from rap music, they fuck you, fuck off, yeah. It's very interesting. Yeah, and it's very interesting to see how everything like evolved, you know what I mean? So that's why I want to ask you this. What do you think?
It I think, say, the first question, the popularity of hip hop, I think in some ways that kind of self-expression is really within people's reach, and it's something that you can start doing immediately, because you can come up with some lyrics to any kind of music, and it doesn't matter what equipment you have or anything, especially now with phones or whatever, you can record things really easily. But just that, I think once people start identifying with that, then they can see it as well, I could do that. Basically they're just talking, and I've got a voice, I can talk too. And so that is one of the appealing things, I think, in the golden age of rock and roll in the 50s and 60s, and that initial explosion, when people still felt they needed to reach for an instrument, but the guitar became that instrument and that tool of expression. And I think say for instance something like skiffle became a really easy way to express yourself. Anybody can do it, and that's why there was a massive explosion of that in the 50s, that led on to other things. And Billy Bragg has a great book about that that's really worth reading in terms of history and pop cultural history. And I think that in some ways skiffle was of that era, hip hop is of this era. And has been. I mean, hip hop is really old. I mean, it started in the 70s. So it's a really old form of expression. But then, you could say, that goes back centuries. You could link it back to
Vivaldi,
humanity.
Well,
before, because it's just speaking, isn't it? It's just chanting. It's but it allows people expression, which is really exciting and really important. And then leading on to, I think, unfortunately, I think there are many cliches surrounding the behavior of musicians, and both people in hip hop and people in rock music. And some people fall into the trap of thinking that in order to be a rock and roll star or a hip hop star, that
you need to be an arsehole.
Yes. They think, oh yeah, well, if I'm going to do that, that gives me permission. And it doesn't at all. It gives you, you don't have permission. Arseholes are arseholes, and we don't like arseholes. They're
we don't like them.
Pain.
Though I disagree. Though sometimes there are loads of, because I'm not going to name names like bands and stuff like that, but there are loads of friends of mine, they like particular bands. Yeah, I like them on. I like the fucking attitude. I like that. Yeah.
It's great to have an attitude. I mean, attitude. I mean, especially in these musics, it's the rock, hip hop. Attitude is kind of everything, isn't it? But then you can play with that. You can play with that, and you can have a different kind of attitude, which makes it fresh and turns it on its head. So when you come across as really nice, and people think, hang on a minute, what's going on here? And people play with that in different ways. But I mean, definitely honest. There's a place for being or appearing to be an arsehole, and on stage you have a certain amount of permission. But again, it's how you use it, isn't it? You can have a lot of attitude, but you can also stop a gig when you're seeing behavior that you don't believe in or don't condone, and question it and take it out of the event.